Hello, fellow Earthlings. Happy Earth Day to you. Happy Earth Day wherever you are. So today we celebrate Mother Earth. Welcome to this live episode. In today's episode, I want to share my 5 key things that are so important for us to continue contributing to the environment. We need to take care of the environment, because if we do not take care of the environment, this place will not be habitable. We will not get food, we will not get water. So everyone, everywhere, must join hands to ensure we have a healthy environment. We all have a part to play. So here I'm going to start with my first key principle. Hello, Words of Wisdom. Thank you for joining in. Happy Earth Day, Words of Wisdom. So April 22nd is Earth Day every year. So we celebrate the environment and we do good to ensure that we continue having a healthy environment for us and our future generations. So I'm sharing my key tips, what I'm practicing locally, and what other people can emulate elsewhere to ensure that we have a good environment. So my first key tip is to grow something wherever you are. You may be in an apartment, in the urban area, or in the rural area. Wherever you are, you have to grow something. That is key. The more we use products from the environment, like cutting down lots of trees, as we continue consuming food that mine minerals from the soil, we need to replenish the environment to ensure that also our future generations can enjoy the same environment. So as it is right now, things are changing because of climate change. The temperatures are going higher. And right now we are seeing more regions experiencing droughts, while other regions are experiencing excess flooding. So I've been through a period of prolonged droughts. We've had scanty rains for close to 2 years. And in the last 3 weeks, I would say, we've had some rains. And today also, we were blessed with some rains. So that is why you see the ground is wet. But in the coastal region today, I've just watched the news. I've seen that there has been some flooding. So there's loss of property because of the flooding. They're close to the coastal region. They're going to experience more flooding. So taking care of the environment is so important. Without our home, then we have nothing to offer our future generations. So my first key principle is to grow something, and here I have my Tevetia peruviana seedling. This is Tevetia peruviana, and a common name is yellow oleander. I want to share with you some more interesting things about this plant. So this is Tevetia. A closer look. So the common name for Tevetia peruviana is yellow oleander. And here you can see I have a nice seedling that has established itself. Tevetia peruviana or yellow oleander is grown commonly as an ornamental plant. And it's an evergreen plant. So even during the drought, it was still green. And once the rains came in, I started another seedling to encourage more people to plant more plants that can help take care of our environment. So I want to show you the mature Tevetia peruviana plant. That is a seedling. So this is a mature plant. You look at the yellow flowers. The flowers can be yellow or orange. And this plant has lots of medicinal value. So many people know it as an ornamental plant, but it has medicinal value. Connection. So I'm talking about the yellow oleander tree. I have shown you the big tree. So yellow oleander can be a bush or a small tree that can get to up to 8 meters. So I planted another yellow oleander right here at the edge of my garden. So right here I have another small plant, and to get it to be like this, as the seedling continues to grow, you keep on pinching the seedling so that it can grow bushy. So yellow oleander can grow in poor soils, and I think I've shown in a different episode the difficult soil I'm working with. Here I'm working with the black cotton soil that clamps so hard, and it needs a lot of water for you to grow food. So I add a lot of soil amendments to get some good produce. But as you can see here, the yellow oleander, this one has survived the drought. It's an evergreen species and it's so beautiful, and that is why people love growing it as an ornamental tree. Look at that. Look at the beautiful linear leaves. So the key is to wait for the plant to get established. Once the seedling is established, you can pinch the plant on the sides to ensure that it grows bushy like this. So look at that. So the yellow oleander has some latex. So on now to some medicinal benefits of this plant. It has some latex that you can use to relieve toothache. Also, when you rub the seed of the mature fruit on your skin, it is beneficial for the skin. This plant is also used to treat malaria fever. And notice how it's growing close to the Dovialis scapha. So it can thrive anywhere as long as the seedling gets sufficient water to get established. It is good enough to go. So to propagate yellow oleander, you grow the seeds. Let me show you the fruits of the yellow oleander. So yellow oleander has some green fruits. And once ripe, the fruit will turn black, and then you can get the seed and you can plant. So the first key point is to ensure that you grow something wherever you are. Plant a tree. You can plant a fruit tree, you can plant an ornamental tree. And that will be beneficial for the environment. So here I have another seedling. So many of them. This is another type of seedling. And this is tamarind. The tamarind fruit has got lots of benefits, which I will cover in another episode. Today I have shared the benefits of the yellow oleander. So as you grow something, another key tip is to learn to share. So on my social media handles, on Instagram and on Facebook and on TikTok, I've been posting some questions for my fans. And for my fans, my friends that get the right answers, I've been giving them a free fruit tree. They have access to a free fruit tree. They don't have to pay anything for it, just to get the fruit tree, plant it and enjoy the fruits. So that is another way I'm contributing to a better environment daily. So these are tamarind seedlings. So on to my second tip. For Earth Day, you have to learn how to recycle something. Recycle something, because recycling can help us to reduce the waste. So in my garden, I'm using lots of containers. These are cooking oil containers. And for all these cooking oil containers, I'm using them to grow food in the garden. So instead of just throwing them away, I'm using them to grow healthy food in the garden. So these are cucumber plants. in these yellow containers. So I have different containers that I've modified. I've cut them in different shapes for various reasons. For example, for this container that has the top that is partly covered like this, it helps me to reduce water loss by evaporation. So I've been able to grow food even during the drought. So this is cucumber, growing lovely. And here I have a capsicum seedling, growing lovely, also in a container that is covered like that. So there are many ways you can reuse your containers. So instead of taking them to the landfill, do some recycling so that we can have more blessed Earth days. We can conserve the earth, the environment, and ensure that the future generations can also get to enjoy the good climate we have enjoyed. So those are containers. And here I'm recycling some old tires to grow potatoes. Here I'm growing potatoes from scrap. So I'm recycling these old tires, big tires in the garden. So this is another way to ensure that you are conserving the environment, taking care of our land. So instead of them burning these tires, I'm giving them good use. And look at this, even if it looks like this, with wires hanging out, as long as they are not sharp, they cannot harm me. So this I'm reusing to grow food. So my second tip is to make sure you are recycling in your garden. So I have potatoes in containers. I have some Swiss chard. I have some onions. I have some amaranth. All this growing lovely in containers. So make sure you can recycle something. My third key tip for the Earth Day, and which you can do, is to compost something. So composting is more beneficial for our environment instead of letting the food waste go to landfills. So on this corner right here, this corner I have some food scraps. So everything that comes from my kitchen, or for some plants that come from my garden, this is where it comes. I do cold composting that is so easy. It's like a lazy composting guide. If you don't have much time, you can practice cold composting, because you just heap the kitchen wastes right on this corner and you keep on turning it. When you get some compost from this side, you turn the soil this way, and when you get to a different point, you turn the waste to the other point that you had dug previously. So that way I keep on mixing the kitchen waste, and the soil under here is so rich. And it's so rich that I also have some good plants that have come up. For example, here I have watermelon, I have amaranth, I have some nice tomato seedlings. So you can tell that my compost, the environment here is good enough. If the plants are coming up so comfortably, look at this, that is tomato, and lots of purslane. So the compost is aerobic, it's not anaerobic. There's air going in, which means the soil, the compost that I'm making is healthy, and the soil is healthy, and the plants can come up here. So I get compost from here, but also some more plants can come and grow here. because as you dump things here, some seeds will find their way to grow. That is tomato. This is spider plant, a very nutritious wheat. Purslane is also nutritious. So do cold composting wherever you are. If you work in a supermarket chain that they sell foods, let them avoid taking the food waste to the landfills, because when a lot of food waste is taken to the landfills, it contributes to greenhouse gases, which are causing the climate change. And now we are seeing different regions experiencing flooding more than the rains they expected, or some regions are experiencing prolonged droughts, or even very high heat for prolonged periods, or very low temperatures for prolonged periods. So it's messing up the system of plants, how plants are growing. Here I have some black nightshade coming up. This is also spider plant. So cold composting is the way to go. It is beneficial wherever you are, and you can even do composting using a basket that you can create from a cloth basket that you put out in the garden, or even an old carton box, or even a container or a bucket. You can do cold composting, and the rich soil, you use it to grow your plants. So that's my tip. Number 3, for Earth Day, make sure you can compost your waste. Avoid landfills at all costs because they contribute to climate change. So on to my next tip for the Earth Day. And that is to reduce food waste. Food waste is becoming more and more common, yet some people are dying of hunger. And food waste is also driven by consumers looking for perfect produce. They are looking for the produce that has the perfect shape, the perfect look, the perfect feel. And yet that is not always the case in the garden. So I've experienced that while growing zucchini. I got some perfect shaped zucchinis, but a lot of my harvest has been imperfect, and that is because of the high temperatures we've been experiencing here. Also because there's been a problem with pollination. For example, look at this zucchini fruit. This has a problem with pollination. Incomplete pollination means you will not get good looking fruits. They will not have good shapes. They will not grow well. And you will have lots of male flowers and fewer female flowers. And once that happens, you cannot harvest food that looks perfect. So look at this. This is another problem of incomplete pollination, and it's because of the climate, very high temperatures, and low population of pollinators in the garden. So that means you don't get produce that looks perfect. So when you demand produce that looks perfect from your grocery store, you are driving food wastes up higher. It means more and more people are getting accustomed just to look for produce that looks perfect. And nothing will ever be perfect unless in controlled conditions. So if farmers don't have the controlled conditions, they cannot get the perfect produce for you. So they're left with a lot of food waste, yet some people cannot access the food. So grow something in the garden, and even if it does not have the perfect shape, just cut it, study it and look at it. It will still have good taste, as I tried my zucchinis and my cucumbers, and it is still good food. It is healthy food. And another argument that has arisen is that garden food is not real food. So I started a series showing people my garden food and cooking it and presenting it as real food, enjoying the food and showing them even if it does not look perfect, it is still real food. It is still good food for you. So let's stop demanding for perfect produce in the market. Let's grow more in the garden, and that will help us to reduce food waste. Also, by growing in the garden, you can reduce food miles. Food miles means food travels from a different region to another region, and that contributes to climate change because of transportation. So if you can learn to grow lots of green produce in your garden, you can also conserve the environment. So reduce food waste by acknowledging that even garden food is real food. So this is my capsicum plant, flowering beautifully. Look at that. So you can get real good food at home. And what I use to supply the nutrients to replenish the soil is my compost. So all these key principles are interconnected. Also ensure that in your diet you include more greens, grow more greens, and include more greens in your diet, and that will help us to conserve the environment. Because when we have big farms that are keeping animals for slaughter so that they can supply meat products, you know that there are some things they cannot avoid, like huge wastes that contributes to climate change. So by including more greens in your diet, and you can even lower the consumption of meat products, you are helping to conserve the environment. So that is my fourth tip for Earth Day. And on to my other tip. So practice ways of saving water. Water is so crucial. You notice that one of the resources that people will start fighting for in the future is water resources. Already countries are having wars about shared water resources. If you research and just read, I am trained in environmental law. So countries are already fighting for water resources. A good example is the Nile. So you always have to make an effort to ensure that you can save rainwater, or even practice styles that help you to conserve water in the garden. For example, here I have a sunken bed. A sunken bed, I'm reusing these sheets. This is recycling. I have lined the bottom of the bed with sheets. So the little water that I get from the kitchen, I recycle and I come and water my plants. And here I have big fruits. This is watermelon growing here. I also have tomatoes. So all these are growing in sunken beds that help me to conserve water. So I'm also practicing companion planting so that I cover the surface of my planting beds to reduce water loss by evaporation. And most importantly, anytime it rains, I have a drum that I use to collect the rainwater. So this is helping me to save water. I'm using this drum to collect water, and I'm using it to also recycle and brew rich fertilizer for my plants. So that is my tip for the environment. So I've shared my 5 plus more key tips to ensure we have a healthy environment that our future generations can enjoy, as we even get benefits from the environment today. So remember that whatever steps you take, even though they look small, they have an impact. If you are growing in the garden, if you are doing composting, it has an impact. If you are saving water, it has an impact. You are doing good. If you can eat and consume locally, you are reducing the food miles. It has a good impact on the environment. If you are choosing to include more greens in your diet, it has a positive impact on the environment. So let's keep growing. Let's keep moving forward with our little steps that will help to save Mother Earth. Until next time, let's create a food and garden heaven. Thank you.